Happiness isn't the purpose of life, and chasing it is why you feel empty. Before you learned your name, a script was loaded. Be agreeable, stack achievements, buy upgrades, keep smiling. It works until it hollows you out. The more you hunt the feeling, the faster it slips. That isn't your flaw, it's the operating system you inherited. This film reads the code behind the happiness chase, hedonic treadmills, attention economies, and the quiet lie of, "I'll be happy when," and installs a different build. Thoth's Hermetic map and modern psychology point the same way. Stop grasping, face reality, align with truth, responsibility, creation, and service. When you aim at what matters, peace arrives as a byproduct, not a trophy. We'll move from the outside to the inside and back again, seeing the mechanisms, uninstalling the reflexes, and practicing a life that feels solid when no one is watching. Ready to upgrade the OS? Thoth's earliest lesson is blunt. What you grasp at slips away. The scribe of wisdom treated consciousness as a set of laws, not slogans. And one of those laws is inversion. Clutch at pleasant states, and they curdle. Hold to what's true, and the mind steadies. Across centuries, the same warning returns in new costumes. When you chase appearances, you end up serving them. When you align with order, appearances lose their leverage. That isn't mysticism for its own sake. It's mechanics. A hand in a fist can't receive. A mind sprinting after a feeling can't see what's actually here. This is why the cultural promise, "Be happy and you'll be fulfilled," keeps failing. Happiness is a weather pattern, not a compass. Treat weather like a compass, and you walk in circles. Thoth's answer wasn't to ban pleasure, it was to put it in its place. Let joy arrive, let it go, and pledge yourself to something sturdier than mood, truth, craft, responsibility, service. Modern psychology, oddly enough, has been catching up. When people make feeling happy their primary goal, their satisfaction tends to drop and loneliness creeps in. We confuse relief with fulfillment and mood with meaning, then wonder why the highs won't hold. The problem isn't wanting to feel good, it's promoting feeling good to head of state. Real life includes boredom, friction, duty, grief. If you label those as failure, you'll spend your years medicating reality instead of inhabiting it. That's how the "I'll be happy when" loop trains you to delay living until the weather is perfect, and the weather is never perfect. Some of Thoth's methods are too candid for YouTube. I share them free in our private newsletter. Hit the link in the description, drop your email, and for a limited time you'll also get a free ebook copy of our book. Here's the paradox that bites hardest. The more central you make happiness, the more brittle you become. Whenever life isn't obliging, you start policing your experience. This sensation acceptable, that one must be eliminated. Quiet moments feel like problems to fix with noise. Sugar for spark, shopping for novelty, scrolling for applause. Another task just to feel the hum of progress. Underneath, you can hear the operating system. Avoid discomfort, chase stimulation, label neutral as not good enough. That OS drives you into a corner because it treats presence as an obstacle and intensity as a plan. It looks like ambition. It behaves like dependency. Look at ordinary loops. You ace an exam, win a client, land a promotion, go viral, and for a few days the world hums. Then your baseline returns, and a new "if only" appears. The nervous system records the spike as proof that spikes are required. The chase resumes, slightly more urgent. Instead of a sturdy direction, truth, craft, responsibility, service, you start orbiting around the next peak. It photographs well. It doesn't anchor you. The outside applauds your momentum while the inside knows it's running on fumes. This is the hedonic treadmill warming up in the background, and in the next chapter, we'll take it apart, piece by piece. Thoth would call the whole pattern building on sand. The forms keep changing: pay rise, purchase, praise, but the grasping gesture of mind is the same. You grasp, it slips. You grasp harder, it burns. So the instruction isn't reject pleasure, but relate correctly. Enjoy what passes through without betting your peace on its return. Honor reality more than mood, process more than applause, truth more than winning the scene. In practice, that means asking a better question of every hour. Not, how do I feel? But, is this worthy of my life? Pleasure can join, it just can't lead. There's another trick the happiness script hides. Relief often masquerades as joy. When boredom or anxiety eases, because the payment cleared, the notification pinged, the glass emptied, the body lifts. We tag that lift happiness and tell ourselves we've found the path. But relief is the absence of pressure. Meaning is the presence of direction. If you felt strangely flat after a win, you've seen the difference. The pressure you cut was real, but the purpose you wanted wasn't included in the transaction. That's why the feeling fades and the itch returns. You can't fill a horizon with anesthetic. As above, so below gives you a cleaner aim. Your inner North Star shapes your outer life. If the aim is feel pleasant, your horizon narrows to whatever numbs or excites, and truth becomes negotiable whenever it's inconvenient. If the aim is live in truth and serve, your horizon widens. You can tolerate unglamorous hours, speak difficult honesty, refuse profitable harm. Mood still swings, but it stops steering. And here's the quiet miracle. The less you demand happiness, the more often a calm, grounded contentment shows up on its own, light as air, earned by alignment rather than forced by control. The point here isn't to shame anyone for wanting to feel good. It's to put feeling good back in its rightful role, allegiant to meaning, not in charge of it. Thoth's warning is mercy disguised as discipline. Stop bargaining with reality, and peace will have somewhere to land. We're not done. Next, we'll open the treadmill and name the moving parts, why peaks fade, why cravings grow, and how to step off without abandoning a vivid, human life. If happiness were a destination, you'd have arrived by now. You've hit the milestones, bought the upgrades, collected the praise, and yet the horizon keeps sliding forward like a mirage. That isn't your failure. It's how the mind adapts. The same circuitry that lets you recover from losses also normalizes gains. Peaks turn into plains. The nervous system loves homeostasis. It notes the spike, adjusts, and quietly asks, what's next? So you chase a louder bell, a bigger number, a fresher novelty, and mistake the new buzz for a new life. But the map hasn't changed. Only the scenery has. Here's the loop in plain sight. You land the promotion. For a week, colors feel brighter, coffee tastes better, you treat friends. Then emails stack, meetings expand to fill the new title, and your baseline mood returns to its old average. Tolerance rises. The next hit must be larger to register the same lift. If the previous high was 20,000 views, now it needs to be 50. If the purchase buzz lasted a day, now it needs a trip. The slot machine in your pocket is delighted to help. Fresh feeds, fresh drama, fresh applause. The machine will always offer more. Your body will always adapt to more. The treadmill doesn't only run on pleasure, it also runs on comparison. The moment you step up one rung, your reference group shifts. Yesterday's ceiling becomes today's floor. Someone nearby has more, sooner, shinier, and your mind moves the goalposts before you can enjoy the pitch you're standing on. This isn't envy as a moral failure. It's a cognitive shortcut gone rogue. Relative status once helped small groups track resources. In a world of infinite highlight reels, that comparison engine overheats and redefines normal every morning. Satisfaction becomes a moving target measured against edited lives. Notice how quickly means turn into meaning. The gym begins as care for your body. 2 months later, it's a scoreboard. Work starts as service. 6 quarters in, it's a ladder you climb for its own sake. Even spiritual practice can become performative. Posture, hashtags, the aesthetics of depth. The treadmill loves costume changes. Its demand is always the same. Raise the dose, reduce the silence, stay in motion. Don't stop to ask what this is for. You end up measuring life by intensity rather than integrity, by fireworks rather than foundation. Thoth would call this building on sand, gripping impermanent forms and then blaming yourself when they shift. The modern label is adaptation. Your brain is tuned to notice change more than constancy. Newness lights the board. Sameness fades from awareness. That's useful for survival and terrible for satisfaction. The steadiness you actually want, peace, presence, quiet pride, rarely shouts. It sits under repeatable work, honest relationships, unphotogenic promises kept. Because it whispers, you overlook it. Because it doesn't spike, you mislabel it as not enough. There's a quieter cost to all the chasing. Every time you outsource aliveness to the next event, you teach yourself that ordinary hours aren't enough. Commutes become dead time unless filled with noise. Meals are background for a screen. Walks are content hunts. Your attention forgets how to rest, and your body forgets how to feel okay without a hit. Then, when the feed stops, everything feels flat, and flatness reads as failure. So you go back to the slot machine and call the relief happiness. That isn't joy. That's the removal of discomfort. Relief matters, but it isn't a life. None of this means you should refuse good news or reject ambition. It means you should understand the machine you're in. Peaks are short because brains adapt. Baselines drift because attention calibrates to what you repeatedly feed it. If you feed novelty, you train for novelty. If you feed depth, you train for depth. The question isn't how do I keep the high? It's what am I building that will still matter when the high fades? That pivot from maximizing spikes to compounding meaning is the only way off the belt without abandoning a vivid human life. Test the pattern on a small scale. Think of the last time you bought something because I've earned it. The lift was real, the aftertaste familiar. Or recall the last viral clip you posted or consumed, the thrill, then the itch for the follow-up. See the trace? The body logs the surge, the mind writes a story, and the treadmill asks for another rep. You can't out-sprint an escalator. You step to the side and choose stairs that go somewhere. The somewhere isn't a mood spike. It's a direction you respect when no one is watching. Under the treadmill, there's a feeling most people try to outrun. The rawness of boredom, anxiety, or not enoughness. Much of the so-called pursuit of happiness is an elegant flight from that rawness. We'll name that pattern next, the arrow principle. For now, notice the hinge. The treadmill keeps you moving, but the arrow decides the direction. If the arrow points away from pain, you'll loop forever. Point it toward truth, and movement starts to mean something, even when it stings. Most pursuit of happiness isn't pursuit at all, it's escape. The arrow of your life points somewhere, and for many of us, it's pointed away from boredom, anxiety, shame, or the ache of not enough. We call the sprint ambition, but the compass is avoidance. You can feel it in the micro moves, reaching for your phone in a quiet lift, opening a new tab, mid-task, adding an errand to dodge a difficult email, buying something shiny to drown a flat afternoon. Relief arrives, the pressure drops, and the body labels that drop happiness. That label is the trick. Relief is removing a pebble from your shoe. Joy is walking a path you respect. One is subtraction, the other is direction. The arrow principle is simple. Ask what your action is aimed at, truth or escape. When the arrow points at escape, your cleverness becomes a maze. You will decorate that maze with achievements, quotes, and well-lit photos. But the floor plan is the same. Away from sensation, away from uncertainty, away from the next honest step. When the arrow points at truth, the same energy turns clean. You still answer emails, train, parent, ship work, but not as distractions. Their acts in service of something you would choose even if no one clapped. Watch how the itch masquerades as instructions. Boredom whispers, open a new tab. Anxiety suggests, tidy the desk before you write. Shame proposes, post something impressive so they stop doubting you. Each whisper offers motion without meaning, busy as an alibi. The mind confuses the end of an unpleasant feeling with the arrival of a meaningful life, and the treadmill applauds. But the relief evaporates, the itch returns, and the maze demands another lap. You're not weak, you're well-trained. The counter-move starts with seeing, not scolding. Name the sensation in plain language. Tight chest, hollow belly, restless hands. Then name the story. If I write badly, I'll be judged. If I rest, I'll fall behind. Stories are powerful when unexamined and thin when spoken aloud. Now ask the core question. Is my next action pointed at truth or escape? If it's escape, pause. Choose the smallest true step instead. The next sentence, the 5-minute walk without a phone, the call you've postponed, the apology you owe. Small and true beats, grand and avoidant. A practical drill, 24 hours of no scratch. When an itch appears, scrolling, snacking, performative productivity, don't scratch for 90 seconds. Breathe, feel, name it. Let the wave crest and fall. Most urges are weather. When you don't automatically scratch, you learn two things. The itch is survivable, and on the far side of it sits a quieter, sturdier choice. That choice won't always feel heroic. Often it looks like closing the extra tab, writing one ugly paragraph, or sitting with your child without checking the phone. Purpose hides in such plain acts. The arrow principle applies in the ordinary arenas we usually outsource to autopilot. In the commute, are you blaring noise to drown impatience, or using 10 minutes to notice your breath and loosen your grip on the day's scorecard? In a meeting, are you speaking to be seen or to serve the work? At dinner, are you topping up the glass to mute awkward silence or asking the question you've avoided all week? None of this demands sainthood. It demands direction. When you choose truth over escape in small places, bigger places open. Careful. Aiming at truth is not permission to punish yourself. Ascetic posturing is still ego theater, if the motive is image. The measure is simple. Does this action increase your capacity to be honest, to create, to serve? If yes, proceed gently and firmly. If no, you've swapped one costume for another. The middle way lives here, not numbing, not self-attack, contact with reality, then proportionate action. Language helps or harms the aim, which is why we'll upgrade the meaning OS next. For now, catch the phrases that bend your arrow. I deserve this, usually code for I need to numb. I'll be happy when, a promissory note that never matures. I'm just not motivated, a myth that outsources agency to mood. Replace them with cleaner lines. I'm choosing to. Numb because I'm anxious. Truth. I'll be proud because I showed up today. Direction. Motivation follows movement. Mechanics. Words are sights on the bow. They align the shot. You'll know the arrow is turning when silence stops feeling like a threat. When you can sit on a bench without reaching for a feed. When you can feel the sting of criticism without needing to clap back or crumble. When you can tell a client the honest boundary and accept the consequences. Happiness isn't glaring at you in those moments. Something quieter is. It's the dull, golden warmth of self-respect. It doesn't spike, so it's easy to miss. Keep your eye in. Try this tonight. Choose one domain and set one honest aim. Work. Ship one page that advances the real project. Home. Ask one question that matters and listen for the whole answer. Body. Walk 15 minutes after dinner without a device. Soul. Sit for 5. Breathe. Let thoughts pass like buses you don't have to board. Aim at truth. Let pleasure visit if it wants. Don't hire it to drive. In the next chapter, we'll tune the words and stories that steer your aim, because language is the operating system of attention, and the wrong OS will keep turning your bow toward escape. Change the sentences, and the shot starts landing where you actually mean to live. Language is the operating system of your life. Change a few lines of code, and the whole interface behaves differently. Same morning, same commute, same workload, different experience, because the words running underneath have switched. Most of us inherit phrases that sound kind and harmless, and then quietly tilt the arrow toward escape. Do what makes you happy becomes permission to dodge the hard, worthy thing. Follow your passion becomes a hunt for fireworks instead of a practice you return to when nobody is watching. Treat yourself becomes a voucher for anesthesia. None of these lines are evil. They're imprecise. And imprecise. Language points you at imprecise aims. Watch how a single sentence changes posture. I have to work out. Drags. I get to keep a promise to future. Me. Lifts. I should write. Invites guilt. I will write one ugly paragraph. Creates motion. I deserve a break. Smuggles avoidance into the room. I am pausing for 10 minutes so I can return clean. Keeps purpose in charge. Words aren't decoration. They're controls. They set the constraints your mind will honor when attention phrase. If a sentence makes feeling good the requirement, the first wobble becomes a reason to quit. If a sentence makes meaning the requirement, mood can come and go without canceling the action. Culture loves slogans that flatten complexity because they fit on a mug. Positive vibes only. Good vibes. Good life. You don't need to ban positivity. You need to stop using it to exile truth. Reality has weather, and mature language names the weather without making it the captain. Today feels heavy, and I'm still showing up. That line makes room for your whole humanity while refusing to outsource agency to the barometer. That is an OS upgrade, from denial and theatrics to contact and proportion. Narratives steer the ship even more than single lines. A hidden story many people run says, I'll be happy when X, where X keeps moving, income, body, title, partner, follower count. That story is an infinite horizon. You can't arrive because the definition updates on contact. Replace it with, I'll be proud because I showed up today, and the horizon moves inside the hour. Pride earned by action does something happiness cannot. It quietly compounds into self-respect. You don't need a grand finale. You need a daily paragraph that keeps the promise. Honest language also breaks the glamour of escape. I'm craving a scroll because I'm anxious about the next step. Dissolves half the spell because the spell relies on vagueness. I'm pouring. A drink to mute a conversation I don't want to have. Invites a better choice. I'm about to buy something to feel alive for 15 minutes. Gives you back the option to find aliveness in a walk, a call, a page. Truthful words don't shame. They return steering to the part of you that can choose. This is where Hermetic teaching meets daily speech. As above, so below is not esoteric wallpaper. It's a plain rule about inner definitions becoming outer days. If success internally means avoid discomfort and look impressive, the behavior that follows will be frantic, cosmetic, and fragile. If success internally means tell the truth, keep promises, create value, relieve suffering where you can, the behavior that follows will sometimes look ordinary and will feel solid in your bones. Language is how you set those definitions. What you enshrine inside shows up, in time, outside. Upgrading the OS doesn't mean tweeting mantras. It means selecting a few lines you will honor when you're tired, tempted, or tangled. Before a difficult email, I choose clean honesty over clever performance. Before a workout you don't want, the rep counts because I said it would. Before a purchase you can't justify, relief isn't purpose. 5 minutes of breath will do. Before a meeting, speak to serve the work, not the image. Before family dinner, presence is the point. The test for a good line is simple. Will I still obey it when nobody applauds and the mood is ordinary? Be careful with the word should. Should is a fog machine. It manufactures guilt without a plan, and rebellion without a principle. Swap should for choose. I should call my mother becomes I choose to call my mother because I want a real relationship. Now the line carries aim and agency, not a wagging finger. Do the same with can't. Often can't hides won't. I can't read tonight becomes I won't read tonight because I'm prioritizing sleep. Suddenly the decision is yours again, and responsibility, which always felt heavy when it was someone else's rule, turns light when it's your own. Precision matters. I'm stressed is a bucket. I'm afraid of disappointing them is a handle. Handles let you lift. I'm lazy is a character indictment. I'm avoiding the first sentence is a solvable problem. I failed is a verdict. I didn't keep the promise today is a report, and reports can lead to repairs. The OS of meaning prefers reports to verdicts because reports invite responsibility without humiliation. Humiliation breeds avoidance. Responsibility breeds alignment. None of this is grammar policing. It's steering. The point is to stop outsourcing your life to woolly phrases that make escape sound noble and anesthesia sound like care. Words won't write the novel or raise the child or change the policy by themselves, but they will change the way your hands touch the day. They will lower the temperature of dread and raise the probability of action. They will help you stand where you are and take the next true step. The middle way you've heard about lives here first, in the sentences you obey when it's dull, when it's awkward, when it doesn't photograph well. Language sets the compass. Now we walk the map. Spiritual maps aren't escape plans. They're operating manuals for ordinary days. The middle way sounds like monastery talk until you realize it's just what a clean hour looks like when no one is filming. Right view isn't a shrine. It's the choice to see a thing as it is before you sell yourself a story about it. Right intention isn't incense. It's deciding, in the car park, that the next conversation will serve the work, not your image. Right speech isn't a vow of silence. It's answering the question you were asked without bending the truth to audition for approval. Right action isn't a grand gesture. It's sending the difficult email without dressing it in performance. Right livelihood isn't a fantasy job. It's refusing the profitable harm and choosing to do work you can defend without a clever speech. Right effort isn't heroic grind. It's consistency without theater. Right mindfulness isn't a weekend retreat. It's the habit of coming back. Right concentration isn't a trance. It's doing one thing at a time until it's done. None of this needs robes. It needs an hour you'll protect, a promise you'll keep, a mouth you'll govern. Take the commute. Most people surrender to noise. The easy path is to stuff the silence with a rotating playlist of outrage, novelty, and half-remembered ads, then arrive jangly and obliged to keep the same temperature all day. The middle way in a car is choosing one thing for your attention and letting it be simple. Breath in traffic, an audiobook that feeds what you're building, or just the discipline of not reaching for the phone at every red light. You are not performing serenity for the dashboard camera. You are training a mind that will be asked 3 hours from now to tell the truth in a meeting. What you rehearse on the ring road shows up at the table. At work, the middle way starts before your fingers find the keys. If your quiet aim is to look indispensable, you will chase urgency and decorate your calendar with proof. If your aim is to create value, you will let quiet be quiet, and you will move one real thing forward. That might look like writing the paragraph you've been avoiding, proposing the unglamorous fix that would save everyone time, or saying no cleanly to an ask that undermines the actual goal. Notice the temperature drop when you don't chase sparkle. Boring is often where usefulness lives. A day that serves something beyond mood will not always feel cinematic. It will, however, feel coherent in your bones. In conversations, right speech is the difference between the meeting that gets somewhere and the meeting that becomes a theater of signals. You can spot the fork when your mouth is already forming the sentence that would make you look clever. The middle way is not muting yourself. It is returning to purpose. What is the question in the room? What would help the work? what's true and kind and necessary, in that order. You will not nail this perfectly. You do not need to. You only need to notice the line where performance begins and choose, more often than not, to step back across it. Every time you do, you make it easier the next time, like cutting a fresh path through bracken until it becomes a track. At home, the practice looks smaller and harder. It's the urge to top up the glass, to sand the edges off a tense evening, and the decision to sit with the edges instead. It's the itch to check the phone under the table, and the choice to hear the whole answer. It's noticing the script that turns a child's bedtime into a chore race, and rewriting it as a quiet ritual. Middle does not mean bland. It means contact with reality, without swinging to indulgence or punishment. The result is not constant bliss. It is a house with less whiplash and more trust, because words can be believed, and promises tend to be kept. With money, the path is the same shape. Hedonism says spend for a spike and call it care. Ascetic pride says hoard and call it virtue. The middle way is deliberate. Buy what serves the life you are building. Free yourself from the cycle that calls every boredom a crisis. Invest in tools that increase your capacity to create or to love. You will not get this perfect. You will get a pattern, and patterns decide where you end up standing 5 years from now. Attention is the currency underneath all of it. If you divide it thin enough, meaning can't buy anything. Right effort, mindfulness, concentration are just 3 angles on the same move. Choose one task, hold it longer than your itch, complete the smallest real unit, and let that completion teach your nervous system that we finish what we begin. You don't need a productivity doctrine. You need an hour where the bell is yours. The old conditioning trained you to answer every external bell. The practice here is to ring your own and come when you call. People imagine a life built on ethics will feel narrow. It's usually the opposite. When you stop negotiating with your language and you stop outsourcing your worth to peaks, you inherit a surprising freedom. The freedom to be uninteresting when uninteresting is what works. The freedom to be quiet when quiet is what serves. The freedom to build without showing your progress every hour to an audience that does not care after breakfast. The mood will still move, but it will stop steering. Peace is shy. It doesn't shout over noise. It walks in when the house is in order and sits on the edge of the bed without needing to be announced. You don't need a new identity to do any of this. You need a next hour and a standard you can keep. Choose one place where you'll tell the truth today, even if it costs a little polish. Choose one act of service that helps someone who can't repay you. Choose one rep of the craft that matters when nobody is watching. Don't make a grand vow. Make a clean appointment with yourself and honor it. The middle way is simply this: fewer speeches, more kept promises. If the outer script sold you happiness, the inner script keeps renewing the contract. 3 loops do most of the work: approval, avoidance, and scarcity. They don't start as villains. They start as safety, belonging so you won't be cast out, comfort so you won't be overwhelmed, speed so you won't be left behind. Then the dials get stuck. The loop becomes a lens, the lens becomes a law, and the law quietly rewrites your days until they belong to everyone but you. The approval loop is simple: outsource worth, then chase its return. When you were young, praise was a rail that kept you upright. Over time, it became the track. Grades, likes, quarterly reviews. None of these are evil, but when they become the measure of whether you exist properly, you start bending truth to win them. You'll choose the project that photographs better over the one that matters. You'll hold back the difficult sentence in the meeting and spend the evening rehearsing the clever version you didn't say. You'll refresh numbers that can't love you and ignore the person who can. The body knows when worth is on loan. It lives tense because loans come due. That tension is what many people call ambition. Often it's debt. The fix isn't to pretend you don't care. Humans care about belonging. That's sane. The move is to swap the scoreboard. External metrics are weather, useful as signals, useless as identity. Internal metrics are craft and character. Did I tell the truth? Did I move the work? Did I keep the promise? Did I help? These don't trend on dashboards. They trend in the way your spine feels when you brush your teeth. Reps, not reactions, isn't a poster. It's a nervous system retraining protocol. You do the rep because you said you would. You measure progress by accumulated kept promises, not applause. Paradoxically, people trust you more, and approval follows the very person who stopped begging for it. Avoidance looks kinder than approval because it wears a cardigan and brings snacks. It tells you to be gentle with yourself, then extends gentle until it means never touch the thing that scares you. It tells you self-care is sacred, then sells you versions that numb the very signal you need. The mind learns a neat trick. If discomfort equals danger, then the safest life is the smallest life. You will not call it small. You will call it balanced, and you will arrange an exquisite calendar that keeps you busy enough never to notice the missing piece. The missing piece is contact with reality at full strength. Discomfort is not always truth, but truth is frequently uncomfortable at first pass. The point of practice isn't to hunt pain, it's to stop mistaking the first sting for a stop sign. You can train this in ridiculous, gentle ways. Cold water on your wrists for 10 seconds, sitting with the first ugly paragraph until it exists, making the awkward phone call and letting the silence do half the work, leaving the phone in another room, and watching your hands reach and return empty. Each time you survive an itch without scratching, you teach the body a new sentence. I can feel this and still choose. That sentence is a key. Scarcity is the drum under both of the other loops. It keeps time with a quiet threat. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough attention, not enough self. In that music, every hour becomes an audition, and every purchase becomes a talisman. Scarcity makes speed feel like virtue. If you slow down, you'll miss the train. If you miss the train, you'll miss your life. So you compress your day to the thickness of a credit card and wonder why it keeps snapping. You eat standing, scroll walking, think sleeping. Meanwhile, depth, which could build something that would still matter 5 years from now, can't get a word in. Real scarcity exists. Bills and deadlines are not imaginary. But much of what we suffer is theater, algorithms, and storefronts, carefully tuned to keep the drum loud. The countermove isn't denial, it's design. You create obvious slowness in at least one part of the day, so your nervous system remembers what enough feels like. A single task hour, a walk with no audio, a meal that doesn't serve as a charging dock for your phone. You draw small, honest boundaries that lower total panic. I answer email in 2 windows. I don't work in bed. Sundays are for repair, not performance. Scarcity hates boundaries because boundaries shrink its stage. Put up curtains anyway. These loops cooperate. Approval makes you perform. Avoidance keeps you from the exact practice that would free you. Scarcity keeps you too hurried to notice you're performing and avoiding. Together, they generate a life that looks lively and feels airless. You can even add fitness and meditation to the cage. A polished routine can be a magnificent way never to meet yourself. The question is never, am I doing good things? The question is, what is this for? If it's for image, anesthesia, or panic, the loop wins. If it's for truth, creation, or service, the loop loses interest. You don't erase these loops. You place them in the passenger seat and stop handing them the keys. That starts with naming them in real time. I'm about to post for approval. I'm about to avoid the first draft. I'm speeding because I'm scared I won't matter if I slow down. Naming won't always change the action today. It will change the arc. Each accurate name is a degree of steering reclaimed. Degrees accumulate. There is compassion in all of this. The loops began as protection. Thank them for getting you this far. Retire them from command. Replace their orders with small, falsifiable promises that build a new identity from the inside out. I write for 25 minutes. I make one honest ask. I help one person without announcing it. I end the day with a page that proves I showed up. The body trusts paper receipts. In a moment, we'll stop mapping and start building the exact protocols that break the cycle without breaking you. Anchor hour, friction design, the metric swap, meaning sprints, simple moves, repeated until a different person answers when the bell rings. The loops won't vanish, they'll get bored. You'll be busy, living a life that doesn't need a constant hit to feel like yours. The loops won't stop shouting, so you need practices that speak quietly and win anyway. Start by taking back 1 hour and making it yours, not a mythical golden hour. An ordinary 60 minutes you can defend most days. Put it where sabotage is weakest, early enough that noise hasn't found you, or late enough that the world has powered down. During that hour, you do the work that compounds: craft, study, service, no theater, no screenshots. This isn't about feeling inspired. It's about keeping a promise to future you. When present, you would rather negotiate. Set a simple doorway ritual so your body recognizes the handover. Kettle on, phone in another room, one line spoken aloud, bell's mine. Then begin, even if you begin badly. Especially then, guardrail the hour by changing the terrain around it. Friction is not the enemy. Misdirected friction is. Remove one hijack that steals attention at the exact time you plan to honor the hour. If your thumb knows where the app lives, make it homeless. If notifications pester, silence them with prejudice, and leave only the alarms that protect real responsibilities. Add enabling friction to the right place. Lay out the book the night before. Open the document to the sentence you intend to finish. Put the running shoes in the doorway so you trip over your intention before you trip over your doubt. Design beats discipline because design shows up even when discipline is tired. Change what you measure, or the old loops will measure you. Reactions are weather, likes, praise, spikes, applause. Reps are receipts, paragraphs written, calls made, lessons prepared, people helped. Count receipts. When the mind nags that you're getting nowhere, open the notebook and point to the tally. You don't owe the mood a debate. You owe the promise a record. At week's end, write a short letter from future you to present you. What moved, what mattered, what to try next. Keep it factual and kind. Shame is counterfeit fuel. It burns hot and leaves you stranded. Respect is steadier, and it grows every time you make a small deposit and bother to notice. Meaning doesn't only live in marathons, it thrives in sprints that finish. Pick a 30-day micro-project that serves someone real and is small enough to complete without fireworks. A plain guide that solves a nagging problem for your team. 3 chapters you'll share with a friend who needs them. A set of audio notes organized for a younger version of you. A Saturday clinic where you teach what you wish you'd learned sooner. Declare the scope, define done, and ship on the date even if it's imperfect. The treadmill wants you to chase a bigger high, meaning asks you to complete one honest thing and then another. When cravings and panic insist on running the day, trade speed for responsibility. Scarcity will tell you there is never enough. Gratitude demonstrates that enough exists right here. List 3 specific things you can use, not 3 abstract sentiments you think you should feel. A chair you can sit in to write. A colleague who will review your draft. A corridor where you can walk and clear static without buying anything, then act on one. Responsibility is gratitude with legs. It converts appreciation into movement. The minute you move, the loop that claimed nothing is possible loses a little jurisdiction. Don't make the hour holy. Make it regular. There will be days you miss cleanly. Note it, adjust, and return the next day without gossiping about your character. The identity you're building doesn't come from a single heroic session. It comes from a pattern of quiet appointments kept. People wait for motivation like for a late bus, but buses don't visit cul-de-sacs. You have to walk to the main road. Movement calls motivation to meet you halfway. In conversations with yourself, refuse the fog. Approval will try to rename practice as performance. Show them you're serious. Answer with the older law. Serve the work. Avoidance will offer compassion as camouflage. Be kind. Skip the hard part. Answer with a cleaner kindness. 5. Uncomfortable minutes. Then we reassess. Scarcity will insist you must do everything at once or be forgotten. Answer by choosing one narrow slice and finishing it in full view of the fear. You're not fighting dragons. You're training reflexes. Each accurate name, each small counter move, is one more degree of freedom banked. Bring the protocols into ordinary places so they stop feeling ceremonial. During the commute, claim 10 silent minutes where nothing performs for you and you perform for nothing. In the queue, breathe and rehearse the first sentence of the honest email. At lunch, eat without a screen and let your mind be boring. Boring isn't a failure state. It's the temperature at which depth cooks. In the evening, tidy the simplest surface you touch most, the desk, the sink, the inbox, and let that small order bleed outward. These aren't hacks, they are votes. Enough votes elect a different kind of day. Let other people help you keep your promises without turning your life into content. Tell one friend what your anchor hour is for, and ask them to text a single word if you vanish from it. Share your weekly receipts with someone who values substance over spectacle. Offer to read their ugly paragraph if they'll read yours. Community isn't a crowd. It's a handful of witnesses who make it easier to be who you said you wanted to be. We'll build that circle in the next chapter. For now, prove to yourself that a different person answers when your bell rings. You don't have to kill the old loops. Just bore them. Do the quiet, compounding thing so many times they wander off to find a new host. You've proven you can keep a promise when the bell is yours. Now, multiply it. Solitude builds the muscle. Community gives it a job. Most people try to change alone while living inside networks that reward the old behavior, feeds that prize noise, workplaces that prize performance, friend groups that bond over numbing. You don't have to torture life. You do need one small circle that makes it easier to be the person your anchor hour is training. Isolation breeds compliance. Good company breeds courage. Start with 5 people. Not a crowd, not a brand, not a discord that swallows your week. 5 is enough for diversity and small enough for responsibility. Invite those who want substance more than spectacle. A builder, a learner, a truth teller, a patient pair of eyes. Someone who needs this as much as you do. Set a simple charter. We train meaning over mood. We measure promises kept. We protect honesty. We don't farm each other for content. Big talk is optional. Attendance and receipts are not. Meet weekly for 60 minutes. Same day, same time, same link or kitchen table. Open with a 2-minute check-in each. One truth told. One rep done. One person helped. No monologues. Proof beats poetry. Then one 15-minute incentive autopsy on a problem someone brings. Why does this keep happening in my week? You're not hunting villains, you're mapping incentives. When a system pays for speed, don't be shocked by haste. When a platform pays for outrage, don't expect sanity to trend. Seeing the incentives lets you choose whether to rent them or refuse them. Next, run a tiny experiment for the coming week. One person sets a prompt, the others adopt and tune to their context. Keep it unglamorous and falsifiable. Publish one ugly paragraph every weekday by 6 p.m. Hold a 10-minute silent commute window. Ask one hard question at work and record the outcome. Replace one doom scroll with a call to someone who needs it. You report back next week with receipts. If you don't do it, you don't bring excuses. You bring a tweak. Experiments, not vows. Guard the culture. No performative wisdom, no fishing for praise, no fixing people who haven't asked. You can disagree without breaking the circle. In fact, disagreement is a feature when handled cleanly. Steel man before you critique. State the strongest version of their view. Ask what value they're protecting. Name your own incentives out loud. The aim isn't to win, it's to get honest enough that better choices become obvious. A good circle raises your standards without lowering your warmth. Create a shared scoreboard that ignores vanity. You're not counting likes, hours sat, or calories burned. You're counting kept promises, help delivered, and real things shipped. A simple spreadsheet or paper log works. Lines for each person, columns for anchor hour completed. One service act, one craft rep, one boundary held. When the week's rough, seeing 4 other names ticked with honest marks will pull you through better than a motivational quote ever did. Social proof is a primitive force. Use it for depth instead of drama. Build small rituals that make meaning obvious. Open with one deep breath together. Close with one sentence about who benefited from your work this week. Hold a quarterly degloss session where each person presents a failure and the fix they're trying next. Host a shared library, not feed list. Books, long essays, talks that reward attention rather than fragment it. Run a 2-hour silent co-work once a fortnight. Cameras on, mics off, each person moving one important thing forward. When the timer ends, you report one line: what got moved. The ritual is not sacred. The repetition is. Practice collective critical thinking without becoming a cynic club. When a story grips the internet, ask the same 3 questions together. Who benefits if we believe this? What behavior does this headline encourage? What would we do differently if we were wrong? That short drill keeps your minds from being hired out to the loudest incentives of the week. You're not above the culture. You're just less rentable. If you have influence at work, tilt a team ritual the same way. Replace the Monday theater of busy with 3 concrete lines per person. The smallest unit, shipped last week. The oldest blocker, the next true step. Praise the boring fix that saves everyone 10 minutes. Praise the boundary that protects focus. Praise the honest, I don't know yet, that prevents a month of drift. The more your local culture rewards integrity over intensity, the less energy you need to fight the old loops. And bring service into the circle so meaning isn't a private hobby. Once a month, do something that helps people who can't repay you. Mentor an apprentice, run a community tutorial, fix a neighbor's tech, cook for a family under strain. Don't turn it into a photo op. Just do the work and let the proof be the lift in your own spine. Service is the fastest way to rinse approval, avoidance, and scarcity out of a system. You stop rehearsing your worth and remember it. Expect mess. Someone will ghost a week. Someone will brag. Someone will hide a bad month behind clever talk. Fine. Call each other back to the charter gently and clearly. The circle is a place to practice being the person you're trying to become, not a stage to congratulate the person you're pretending to be. When the group works, you'll notice a quiet change. Pressure moves from impress them to don't let them down. That's healthier pressure. It keeps you pointed at truth. This isn't about building a movement or naming a method. It's about creating a handful of rooms where alignment is easier than performance, where attention is treated like a living thing, and where the scoreboard rewards what lasts. You'll still have moods. You just won't be managed by them. You'll still hit peaks. You just won't worship them. The circle makes the anchor hour heavier, cleaner, and strangely lighter. It reminds you that purpose looks ordinary most days and is therefore easy to skip when you're alone. Next, we'll lift the camera from the week to the horizon and write a definition of success you can defend when the weather turns. Purpose over mood, alignment over applause, a life you respect from the inside out. Stand back from the week and look at the shape of a life you can defend. It won't glitter every day. It won't trend. It will look, to anyone not paying attention, like an ordinary human quietly keeping oddly specific promises, an hour ring, fenced for the thing that compounds, conversations where truth beats polish, work that ships and helps, money used to enlarge what matters instead of sedate what aches. There will be peaks and dips, but they stop being the point. Mood becomes weather. Meaning becomes climate. Purpose isn't a lightning strike. It's a route you keep walking until your footprints become a path. If you zoom in on any single day, you'll see boredom, friction, and the occasional flare of delight. Zoom out and you'll see a long arc. The craft deepens, the heart steadies, the circles you move in get kinder and more serious, and the gap between who you say you are and how you live narrows until they touch. That contact is peace, not the fireworks kind, more like the steady glow of a house with lights you know how to turn on. We were told life's aim is to feel good. The teaching here is sharper and kinder. Aim to live true, and feeling good visits on its own timetable. Thoth's old warning, what you clutch slips, turns out to be a rescue line. When you stop bargaining with reality for a particular sensation, you free the energy you were spending on control and spend it on contribution. Contribution has a different sensation profile. It doesn't spike as often. It lingers. It makes the mirror gentler. It makes the room larger, meaning over mood doesn't exile joy. It gives joy somewhere solid to sit. It's why the high from a purchase fades, while the warmth from teaching someone a skill they can keep showing up at strange hours. It's why the hit from praise dissolves, but the afterglow from telling a hard truth without theatrics keeps you upright for weeks. The nervous system learns what to trust. It stops mistaking noise for life and comfort for love. It starts recognizing the quiet signatures: alignment, devotion, usefulness. A portrait, because abstractions get slippery. Imagine a plain Tuesday. You wake without an alarm because you protected your sleep like a grown-up. Before the feeds, you ring your bell. 50 minutes on the hard paragraph for the book no one asked you to write, and everyone in your future will thank you for. You don't nail it, you move it. Breakfast is unheroic. The commute is 10 minutes of nothing, on purpose. In a meeting, you skip the theater and contribute one sentence that saves an hour for 6 people. At lunch, you eat like a person instead of an antenna. You help a colleague without making a speech about it. You go home, walk with someone you love, and ask a real question. Later, you tidy one surface and close the night with a page you can point to. Proof you showed up, no crescendo, and yet the spine is tall. You go to bed, tired and clean. Scale that Tuesday by a year and add the messy bits: illness, mistake, conflict, loss. The map still holds. Meaning doesn't make you invincible. It makes you available. Available to the work when glitter isn't on offer. Available to people when they're not easy. Available to yourself when the old loops try to take the wheel. The difference isn't that life suddenly cooperates. The difference is that you know what to do when it doesn't. You come back to the hour, the truth, the craft, the service. You do the next proportionate thing. This is where, as above, so below, lands in the bones. You set interior standards, truth over image, creation over accumulation, service over status, and the exterior begins to echo them. Not magically, mechanically. People learn what to expect from you. Work starts to find you that matches your edge. You get fewer invitations to perform and more invitations to build. Your circle is smaller and stronger. The room is quieter and denser. The feed complains you've gone missing. You haven't. You're just somewhere algorithms can't rent. If you're waiting for permission, this is it. Not permission to be loud about meaning, permission to be boring in the ways that build it, permission to choose stairs over escalators, letters over likes, craft over clout, permission to say no to profitable harm and yes to useful obscurity, permission to disappoint the audience in order to stop disappointing yourself. The badge isn't happy. The badge is aligned. It looks plain in photos. It feels like oxygen. You do not need to fix your whole life to cross the threshold. You need to pick a narrow doorway and use it every day until it opens into a room with your name on the wall. For most people, that doorway is 1 hour and 1 practice, guarded by 1 sentence you will obey, even when you don't feel like it. Everything elegant grows from that crude beginning. Small kept promises, compounded into trust. First your own, then other people's. If this resonated, don't leave empty-handed. Join the free newsletter at the link in the description. What we can't publish here goes there. And for a limited time, you'll also get our ebook free when you sign up. If you feel this on a deep level, comment, "I get the code."